In my last video, which was about reality tunnels, looking back at it, I realized there was one point which I perhaps hadn't emphasized enough or explained enough. I was putting forward a sort of a definition of a reality tunnel, which was a bit radical. I said a reality tunnel is a space where magic is forbidden. And to defend that statement, I gave several examples where you might say, I know someone who's got magic in their reality tunnel, but if you ask the person, you would realize, as far as they're concerned, there's no magic. For example, in the scientific community, homeopathy is magic, and therefore it's nothing, doesn't exist, doesn't work, it should be forgotten. But you can find doctors who've had a proper medical training, done all the years of learning traditional medicine, but they also practice homeopathy. Now, if you said to one of those doctors, I see you also use magic, I'm pretty sure that they would say, no. Homeopathy isn't magic. The basic homeo principle is highly respectable. After all, what is a vaccine? Except when the body is threatened by something, you give a tiny bit of the same thing, and the body is defends itself against it. So the principle is actually very sound. It's just that homeopathy practice goes a bit further. Science hasn't yet got that far. We need to study homeopathy scientifically to really find out how it works. In other words, you may call it magic, but no, I don't have any magic in my thing. And I said the similar thing, an astronomer who's interested in astrology would probably make the same sort of argument. Oh no, astrology is not a magic, it's a science. It's an old science which hasn't yet been fully understood. So I said yes. So people's reality tunnels, they don't have magic in them. And when other people might see magic, no, it's not magic as far as they're concerned. And then I said, well, what about me? I'm a person who's wide open to, crystal healing, homeopathy, all the New Age stuff and all that sort of thing. Does that mean none of it is magic to me? There is no magic there. I'm living in a magicless tunnel where a lot of other people would think is wonderful magic, but it isn't magic to me. It might seem like that, but it isn't. There's a lot of magic that I experience. So how can that be? It's because, for me, there's a difference between giving permission for something and simply being open to it. Now, years ago, I think it was in the 1970s, there's a guy, Martin Gardner, who used to write a wonderful regular column in Scientific American. He's a mathematician, and wonderful puzzles and things he'd come up with. But he was a skeptic. And once I was watching someone performing a conjuring trick together, and we got to talking about how it worked. And I realized, we both realized there's a difference between us. First, for him, it was very important to work out how this apparent magic had worked. Because if he could find out how it worked, the actual magic has been banished. It's now something which can be explained. No magic. Whereas I was saying, actually, I don't want to know how it worked. I just thought it was so incredibly beautifully done, such an artistic experience. I just want to dig the wonderment, Don't tell me how it's done. Wow, I want to blow my mind with this beautiful experience. So, you see, it wasn't that I was sort of giving permission for magic. I was just open to enjoying it. Take the example of acupuncture. That's an interesting one. I'm open to acupuncture. I know plenty of people who have had good results from it. But I'm not an advocate of it. If someone was ill, I wouldn't say you must try acupuncture. And in fact, I hadn't used it for years. And then last year, I think it was in the third or fourth quarter, I was hit by an excruciating pain in my hip. The sort of nerve pain which you can't predict quite when it's coming, but it hits you like a bolt of lightning, and I'd had this for over a week, I think, about 10 days or so. And I was living in the way that I was moving so slowly, sitting down very carefully, very stilted, because I was afraid at any moment I might just make that little jerking movement and have this bolt of pain. And I tried endless painkillers and anti-inflammatories, things like that. No effect whatsoever. Relaxation. As soon as I got up, I was the same thing. And so, at some point, my body was screaming, try an acupuncturist. And someone had recommended someone in the next valley. They said he's a good acupuncturist. So I signed up, and Lynn drove me down there. And I somehow managed to get up onto his couch. Careful. There I was on the couch, and then he did his stuff, pins and all that, and take them out and wiggling them, and then I was left to relax and recover. And then I had to very gingerly get off the couch until I was standing, and my body noticed it didn't feel any pain. But my brain didn't believe it. Oh, no. You've got to be careful. Well, just another movement and it's going to be... And I sort of gingerly back got into the car. And it actually took me a full day. It was the next day before I'd realized, my brain realized, actually, the pain had gone. I could do any movements I wanted. It was so terrified after those 10 days that my brain wouldn't at first admit that the pain had gone. But my body recognized it straight away and wanted to move freely. So it was like my brain hadn't given permission for acupuncture. Well, it would give permission for acupuncture to work a bit, several weeks course and gradually the pain level goes down. But my brain had not given permission for acupuncture to be just like switching off a light, pain gone instantly. So there was an interesting situation for me. And it does raise a question that would I try acupuncture for other things? Well, this is actually rather a funny one because I've known people, and you may know people, who try magic for the first time, and it works so well that they daren't try it again. People are funny, aren't they? Why? Well, I can think of several reasons. One is if you come from a very religious background, magic is sin, it's the work of the devil, it's very dangerous, you mustn't get trapped by the devil. And you decide, I'm going to try a little spell, and it works brilliantly like that. That's rather scary, because it means you've sort of danced with the devil, you've done something which is utterly wicked. Are you trapped now? Have you given your soul away or something? I'm exaggerating a bit, but there's a thing. If you've got a very religious background, you find a little bit of magic worked. That can be quite scary. Now, if you're a rationalist, and magic, people who believe in magic, they're mad. That sort of thing, and you try something out, probably to prove it doesn't work, and it works. That too is quite unsettling. Not quite as bad as the religious model, but, am I kidding myself? I should have tested it more. I hope I'm not going soft in the head, it really did seem to work, but what's wrong with me? My perceptions or something. And then the other type of person, which I'm more familiar with, is the person who comes from either religious or scientific background and really wants to believe in magic. Please, please persuade me that magic exists. And they try something and it works so well. They don't try it again because if it doesn't work the next time, it would mean it's just coincidence. They're hanging on to this belief. No, I'm not going to try it again. No. I want to believe in it. I don't want to discover that it was just chance that it worked. Something like that. So it's a bit weird, but you can get that. People who get a good result and are frightened to try again. Now that's a bit of a sidetrack in a way, but the point I'm making is that I would say that being open to magic is not as same thing as giving magic permission to happen in your reality tunnel, which is a process of really banishing the magic. I will allow homeopathy to work in my tunnel because it isn't magic. I will allow astrology to give me interesting readings because it isn't magic. Whereas I can have the wonderful experience of watching this conjuring show and just being transported by such beauty of it. I can sort of go to heaven after a fantastic meal on a wonderful restaurant in Cape Town or something like that. I can be blown away by that. And it's a bit like really artistic experience. To me, this is where sort of you are getting to the boundary between magic and art, that openness to wonder. Just talking of one of the glorious sunset or something like that, I must just divert for a story which my brother told me about the most amazing sunset he'd ever seen. And he was in a hotel in the Alps, I think Swiss Alps. And there, I think it was something like, sundowners or evening cocktails. A lot of people were out on the balcony, gazing at this amazing view of snowy peaks, that sort of thing. And they were chatting away, and they began to fall silent because the most stunning sunset was bursting through the clouds. And one by one, people fell silent. And he said for 2 or 3 minutes, people were just looking until one voice broke the silence. And the voice said, "Well, kiss my ass." Funny, I thought. Anyway, yes, so this openness to magic is really like openness to art. And it's partly behind it. You see, thinking of that reminded me, in a recent video, I'd explained that my own version of this sort of the chaos mantra, if you like, the original version from the 70s was, nothing is true, everything is permitted, which was a very powerful, very radical statement, because in a culture which has been brought up on religion and science for centuries, where truth is so important, whether it's religious truth or scientific truth, to say nothing is true is a real revolutionary statement. And in both scientific and religious culture, there's an awful lot of things that are not allowed. And so to say everything is permitted, that's a very powerful, radical statement. But a year or two back, so I thought I'd moved on from that a bit. And so I came up with everything is true, nothing needs to be permitted. Nothing needs permission, if you like. And in a sense, this is what this is about. From an artistic point of view, there's truth everywhere, and you don't have to give permission. For me, it's the difference between I leave the door open for magic and I let it happen here and there. There are certain things I would forbid. I gave the example of, my video being interrupted by Satan suddenly appearing and prodding me with pitchforks, belching sulphurous fumes over me, that sort of thing, and stamping on the floor. And I said, no, 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 I won't allow that. That's going too far. But, winning the lottery or something, well, yeah, I'd allow that. That's okay. Nice bit of magic, that. Well, good feeling. So, to me, it's a difference of leaving the door open to magic rather than having, at the end of your reality tunnel, a turnstile where something comes in and you have to show you the identity card. You have to look up the paperwork. Oh, yes, you're permitted. You can come in. You're not magic. Oh, yes, you're permitted. You're not magic. You can come in. Which is rather what those people, my earlier examples, were doing. So, as someone who is wide open to magic and welcomes it, does that mean my reality tunnel doesn't have any magic in it? No, no. Magic's there, it comes and goes, it's a welcome guest. And that's really the point which I felt I omitted to make. And I've added it in this.